It is 8 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Wednesday morning. We start the day with showers in Clinton, 45 degrees. It feels like 42 outside.
Local information that makes a difference. Here's your regional weather.
These early showers will move off, and it'll be cloudy and breezy on this Wednesday. Temperatures in the upper 50s. A west-southwest wind will increase throughout the day, becoming 15 to 25 miles per hour by the afternoon, and wind gusts as high as 35 miles per hour today. Still cloudy and breezy tonight. Temperatures in the upper 30s. A west wind at 15 to 20 miles an hour. Wind gusts in excess of 30 miles per hour. A 40% chance of afternoon showers on Thursday, partly sunny and breezy. Highs in the upper 40s. A west wind at 15 to 20 miles an hour. Thursday, wind gusts of 30 miles per hour. Showers continuing Thursday night. Could even see some snow mixed in at times. Temperatures in the mid-30s. Rain and even early snow on Friday. Cloudy otherwise. Temperatures in the lower 40s. Friday, a west-northwest wind at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Wind gusts of 30 miles per hour. Saturday, partly sunny with highs in the mid-40s. And Sunday, mostly sunny and a high approaching 60 degrees. As we roll through this Wednesday morning, right now in Bloomington, 43 degrees. It's 43 in Hayworth, 44 in Leroy and Farmer City, 45 in Champaign, 43 in Monticello, 44 in Decatur, 44 in Mount Pulaski and Lincoln, 44 in Springfield, 45 in Peoria. 45 degrees, rain falling in Clinton. Feels like 42 degrees outside. South winds are calm, 100% humidity, 10 miles of visibility here this morning. Well, I pulled up Coco Ross. Let's zoom in and see if we can't get some rainfall totals from those overnight rains, and maybe we'll have more updated tallies to pass along later this afternoon. A half an inch of rainfall in Lincoln in the overnight. In New Holland, about 4/10 of an inch of rain. Just short of a half an inch of rainfall north and east of Mount Pulaski along 54 between Kenny and Mount Pulaski. We move north to Bloomington Normal in McLean County, where they received about 2/3 of an inch of rainfall along Towanda Road, south and east of Bloomington Normal, about a half an inch of rainfall. Downs, about a half an inch of rainfall. 4/10 of an inch of rainfall in Leroy. Between Bloomington and Ellsworth, about 6/10 of an inch of rainfall. In Congerville, just on the other side of the McLean County line in this is Woodford County, about 8/10 of an inch of rainfall reported there. About 1/10 of an inch of rainfall reported in Rantoul, but between 4/10 and a half an inch of rain in the Champaign-Urbana area in Champaign County, about 4/10 of an inch of rain in St. Joseph, just north of Sidney, about a half an inch of rain, and just north of Homer, also about a half an inch of rainfall in Champaign County yesterday. Taking a look at Christian County, just outside of Edinburgh, 6/10, rather 2/3 of an inch of rainfall reported there. Just south of Assumption on 51, just north of Pana, about 6/10 of an inch of rainfall in Christian County yesterday as well. Again, that's courtesy of CocoRoz.org. That is the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network, CocoRoz.org. You can find the easy-to-use map, but you just scroll in and out, up and down. It is super easy to use, CocoRoz.org, the latest for those rainfall totals. Again, 45 degrees, rain falling in Clinton. Let's get to the news.
From regional radio, DeWittDailyNews.com and the WHOW app. This is local information making a difference.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. Coverage of the WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. And coverage of news is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters. The Warner Library Children's Floor is almost back to the way it was pre-COVID. That's according to children's librarian Corey Campbell, who told regional radio on the WHOW Morning Show Tuesday they have a huge selection of games, puzzles, arts and crafts, and much more for kids of all ages to enjoy.
For the kids, one of the most exciting things is that when they come into the library, there are toys and games and all sorts of different fun things that they can do out on the children's floor. I think, of course, we've got a great shelf of toys that always see use on our storytime morning. We've got small balance beam section upstairs. We have our traffic light that is operational again. The puppet theater is stocked with puppets of every shape and size and color. We have an amazing variety of games and puzzles upstairs, and right now we have a fun special mosaic activity as well where kids can come in, and it's kind of like a paint by numbers, so they can come in and take the sticker and put it on the corresponding, I think it's letters actually, on there to help create a secret image.
Campbell indicates some of those things have slowly been coming back earlier in the year, but says it's great to have most everything back and calls things pretty close to pre-pandemic levels.
And they were kind of gradually coming back as we started to loosen some of the restrictions. And, I think we all wanted to make sure that the library was as safe a place as we could make it for the public as some of these restrictions have lifted, and we've been able to open up a little bit more. We've been able to kind of get our toys out gradually, and now things are back full force. I don't want to say that we are pre-pandemic levels again, but we are darn close.
As more and more families feel comfortable coming back to the library, Campbell says it's been great to meet more families that he didn't know before, and it's also great to see kids starting to come back to the library as well. As Illinois schools return to normal, that is opening the door for outside program coordinators to return to classrooms for programs that have been on pause for nearly 2 years. Among those returning to classrooms is DeWitt County's Extension 4-H Youth Development Program Coordinator, Lindsay Burden. She explains she's been doing a food preparation program with high schoolers in DeWitt County.
I've gone 2 times to Clinton High School to do food challenge, which is basically 4-H's version of Chopped, and with the foods classes there. We've done 2 out of the 5 sessions for the spring, and the kids have done awesome, and it was so excited to just be back in person with that. And we have also went and did a 6-week session at Blue Ridge after school, which we haven't been able to do in a while, so that was really fun to see. And we partnered with the Blue Ridge STEM Club to do that, so the teens from the high school STEM club came and taught STEM to the younger kids, which was really cool to see.
Prior to COVID, the U of I Extension was starting to gain real momentum in its after-school programming in Farmer City. Burden is hoping they can pick up right where they left off as they start to get back to some of those activities.
Yeah, I think we've built a pretty strong foundation going in and doing after school programming there, of course, before COVID. And then we got our 6 weeks in. So I feel like they are starting to recognize the 4-H and, associate that with fun events and things. So I feel like the response over there to 4-H is just amazing. And I'm really excited. And we've got this new Cloverbud Club that's got some gung-ho leaders, and I think that they're going to do some awesome things. And this is just the beginning of seeing that. And I forgot to mention, this is also a partnership with the Blue Ridge STEM Club. So we've formed a really awesome relationship with that high school club, and those high schoolers are amazing. They're willing to step up and help out with anything. So I love that we've been able to form partnerships with different community players and be able to share 4-H with everyone, and everyone's so willing to jump in and help out and participate, which is awesome.
Burden is also coordinating with the Farmer City Library for programs they offered during COVID, like growing a salsa garden, among others. She's looking forward to those getting going again this spring. Learn more about these programs and more by visiting the Extension website, extension.illinois.edu/DMP. Social media can often be a sounding board for people, and oftentimes the ideas or issues stop there. Kurt Holman, the director of the DeWitt County Development Council, saw some conversation among a young group of individuals in Farmer City on social media and wanted to do more for them. That's why he started a focus group of individuals under the age of 40 in Farmer City, with another forming in Clinton soon.
The under 40 group was really started because I had witnessed some social media conversation, and there was younger people talking, and this was actually in the Farmer City area, talking about what the community needed, what would be a good business, what would be. So I was really interested in those details anyway, and I really threw out a suggestion. Hey, would this group of people like to get together? I can't say enough about how fascinating and amazing that group of people became and were, but once their voices got put together, it's really been an amazing concept. So I would say the first time it met, there was 12 people there. The second time it doubled in number, there was 25, and they met a third time, it was less than the 25, but still a pretty motivated group. So ultimately it began those conversations, and in that process there's several people that have expressed interest in opening up a business. There's a couple that are absolutely opening up a business.
No kidding.
They've acquired some real estate to do so. It's really been a good experience. But the whole basis on my perspective is if we want more younger families in our communities, and most communities do, I mean, that's what we want to continue as it's growing, that you really need to ask that group what matters to them and what's important to them. And those answers might be a little bit different than if you asked a 70-year-old, for example. And in this case, they certainly were. But again, so we can't not forget about that demographic, certainly. So that focus group has been fantastic.
In Farmer City, the conversations center a lot around housing. Holman was surprised to find out the absence of a grocery store in Farmer City was not something that this group felt strongly about.
So I'll give you a couple thoughts. Housing was a big area, more housing, more potential housing. That's a pretty big project, even for DCDC. That being said, there actually are things that we can do. So I've been researching grants. I've been researching, funds that may assist in those regards. And believe it or not, there are some out there. So, we're gonna walk down that line to see if that happens. Some of the other things that were interesting. Farmer City, unfortunately, doesn't have a grocery store, and I did ask that group about that. How does that? Is that an important aspect? Is it not an important aspect? Now, an under age 40 tends to be a more mobile group, and it really, for them, it wasn't as big of a deal as it would be for an older generation. And I found that very, very interesting. The convenience of having a local grocery store, I think, means so much to a community. Well, a very mobile group, it wasn't as meaningful as I expected it to be. Now, they clearly thought it would be a good idea, but they were only inconvenienced as opposed to maybe an 80-year-old that can't travel to Champaign every day, or Bloomington every day, or Clinton every day.
Holman has been impressed by the community focus of the group in Farmer City. He explains they are going to be doing some fundraising intended to take up projects to improve the community this spring.
This particular group wanted to be more community focused and really they actually took it to the next level and wanted to focus on ways that they could actually help improve the community. So they're actually going to do a little fundraiser and start on some community projects. A lot of that stemmed from, I was at a rural conference, and they talked about how welcoming a community is, and they asked people how would they rate the welcomeness of your community. So for newcomers that came to a community, if they answered the community was very welcoming, 86% of those people were there 5 years later. If they said not very welcoming, less than 40% of those people were there 5 years later. So they really took that approach to say, okay, how can we make our community, how can we make our county more welcoming?
Holman notes the Clinton under 40 focus group should be getting off the ground soon. He encourages anyone interested in that group to keep tabs on the DCDC Facebook page, as well as that will be where information is released on as the details roll out. It's 22 minutes after the hour here on this Wednesday morning. Cloudy skies, rain falling in Clinton, 45 degrees. It feels like 40 outside. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. And coverage of news is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters. Back with more news after this on the Morning Show.
New trucks and SUVs are coming here at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. This is Scott Baum. Yes, we have new inventory arriving, and you can see what will arrive right on our website. Just click on the pre-order and reserve tab. From there, you will find vehicles in transit and vehicles in production. Or just call our sales staff and we'll help. Find Silverados, Equinoxes, Blazers, including Tahoes and Suburbans, as well as our complete Buick line of SUVs. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
23 minutes after the hour here on this Wednesday morning. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast, streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. The Illinois House has advanced a number of public safety bills. The measures hit on various issues, including new ways to recruit and retain police officers. There's also legislation creating a co-responder pilot program in Peoria, Springfield, Waukegan, and East St. Louis, says Representative Jihan Gordon Booth.
The feeling and the thought was that in regards to case management and services for victims and their families, that those issues actually would be much more receptive if we have social workers working in the space and in the capacity, working alongside police officers.
House Minority Leader Jim Durkin argued this is a last-minute attempt by Democrats who passed the criminal justice reforms last year to address rising crime in Illinois.
This is a classic case and a classic example of CYA. We are here for one reason. Due to the colossal failure in process and also the substance from that horrible bill in which you're trying to redeem yourself with not only victims of crime, but also with law enforcement.
Similar legislation has been introduced in the Senate. The legislature is scheduled to adjourn on Friday. House lawmakers passed a bill Tuesday that takes action in support of Ukraine. The legislation divests state pension funds from interests in Russia and Belarus and will make it easier to offer resources to Ukrainian refugees. It's sponsored by Chicago Representative Lindsay LaPont.
We cannot sit back and just wait for this to be over. We in Illinois have to use our toolbox to do our part. As one of the most comprehensive state responses in the country, this bill is a part of our part. And although it won't be enough, I consider it a must-do.
It also sets up a group to work on protecting elections from foreign interference, says Representative Tim Butler of Springfield.
It happened here in Illinois in 2016. As we know, the Russians hacked into our state election systems, got data out of the state election systems. And so this task force will be taking a look at how we can have secure systems in the state of Illinois.
The bill, which now heads to the Senate, also sets up two task forces. One looks into Russian money laundering in Illinois, and the other will focus on the security of elections. Illinois Senate Democrats are announcing a plan to address the increase in carjackings in Illinois. One makes sure victims aren't saddled with fines racked up by their carjackers, says Senator Omar Aquino of Chicago.
Imagine if you are a victim of a carjacking and yet, time passes, you have that traumatic experience, and then in the mail you receive a bill of saying that you have owe for red light tickets or speeding cameras and so forth.
Senator Kimberly Lightford of Maywood and her husband survived a carjacking back in December.
I was terrified, and I believe that I stopped breathing. I just thought with every step that I would be hit with a bullet in my back. And I just knew they'd killed my husband. It was about a lot of shooting going on, so I just thought he'd be gone.
Another measure lets law enforcement groups receive state grants and additional resources to help catch carjackers. Governor J.B. Pritzker is signing a new law to protect teachers who get COVID. The law applies to school staff who are fully vaccinated, giving them paid leave if they are infected. The governor says teachers have had to balance the demands of remote and in-person learning as well as the health and safety of their own families during the pandemic.
Perhaps more than any other profession, educators have borne this burden. So we're extending employee paid leave to cover their children's needs too, ensuring that if an employee's child gets sick or has to isolate and quarantine, they have one less thing to worry about.
It's supported by Senator Don Harmon.
This is a step to recognize those who have done all they can to protect themselves, their families, their students, and their schools, but still end up facing hardship because of the pandemic. They've played by the rules, done everything that was recommended, and they shouldn't lose sick days or pay for doing the right thing.
This applies to public school districts, colleges, and universities. Vaccinated teachers who previously have had to use sick days because of the virus will get those days back. Fentanyl and designer drugs are being widely trafficked by drug cartels, with methamphetamine also making a comeback. Those are just some of the observations of Richard Tucker, the former assistant special agent in charge of the United States Drug Enforcement Administration. He says now that the borders have reopened following COVID, the cartels that had stockpiled drugs are using different delivery mechanisms.
For example, fentanyl coming to us from the southwest border and also from Southeast Asia. We had seen it in powder form and in liquid form. Now we're seeing it in counterfeit pill form, and this is very confusing to the drug user. And the reason that the traffickers did that was to stop the explosion of overdose deaths, because only a microgram versus a milligram of other substances of these fentanyl can get a patient the euphoria they want. Anything more than that could lead to death.
He says while drug use is widespread, recovery is possible, but stresses the person who is addicted must do it for themselves, not because someone else wants them to. It is 29 minutes after the hour. Coverage of news is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton.